How are you doing today? My name is Aglaé Jacob, but you can call me AJ. I'm a non-diet dietitian, heart and soul nutritionist, self-love guide, an intuitive, and the author of the book Digestive Health with Real Food and the companion cookbook Digestive Health with Real Food. So I like everything that is related to gut health. And so those books came out in 2013 and 2014. So they've been a big part of my own healing journey. More recently, my healing needed to go deeper than the physical body. And even though, good health to me is really the root of many of our physical health issues, um, there was some part of me, especially with my eating disorder and many other areas of my life, that needed deeper healing at the level of my mind, heart, and soul. So I've been working on a lot of that, and that's how I am now incorporating all of these tools and practices that I learned along the way on my own healing journey, along with my intuitive abilities that I've recently been exploring and growing and developing, so I can use my intuition more to guide my clients' healing. And I've also recently become a Reiki practitioner, so I can also use energy healing. So, you don't see that too often. Registered dietitian with a solid scientific background that is able to bridge the gap between that and the more intuitive, emotional, mental aspects of healing and energy and all of that. So that's, I think, is a pretty cool mix that we don't see very often. So I have something very unique to bring to people. And today, I didn't want to talk only about me. I wanted to talk about something that relates to you and to many other women that I work with, and also to me in the past. Um, I was recently working on this because I had this very great visual idea about a triangle. So for many of the women that I work with, I see them going from one extreme to the other. So at first, let's say you only have a line, and that's kind of the polarity, like the either or, the both extremes of the spectrum that most of us are stuck in between when we're on our healing journey, trying to improve our health, trying to improve our nutrition, get rid of symptoms and all of that. So one end of the spectrum is following rigid diets, having a lot of food rules, trying to read a bunch of books, trying to read on Google and on the internet and do a lot of research and trying to control and monitor our calories and carbs and protein and fats and all of that, and even more in the detail of micronutrients and supplements, I'm sure you know. So that feels exhausting just listening to that, but I know that this is the real reality for many of us, and I've been there too. So that is one reality, one extreme of that spectrum, that polarity that I wanted to talk about. The other extreme of that polarity is, well, the sun is just coming out. I feel like this is a little bit too much light. I should have paused this, but well, okay, I don't want to start over. So yeah, the other end of that polarity is, I didn't remember which side I started with, but the other end of it is the other extreme. The other end of the spectrum is food rebellion, is when we just give up. It's way too much to be stuck in that rigid box and all of these food rules. And it can feel the weight of all trying to micromanage and control everything about your diet and your health. And at some point, you just can't anymore. You can't. It's just not a way to live. So you end up at the other end of the spectrum where you eat everything and anything. Even if you don't necessarily want it, you just feel like you have to. You feel like your life almost depends on it. For some people, they may feel like they're kind of in slow-mo movie. They see it happening, but they feel like they cannot stop it. It feels like their body is an autopilot, and even though they may feel like, I don't want to do this, I want to stop this, they just have no power to change the behavior. So For other people, I see stuck in that food rebellion end of the spectrum is almost like feeling like if they're not able to stick to those rigid rules, they feel bad about themselves, and it caused them to, you know, when you quote unquote fall off the wagon, you feel there's almost like a underlying need, I would say, to punish ourselves. And because we feel like we're bad because we're not able to stick to those kind of diets we want to stick to, we feel like we're bad and we need to punish ourselves by eating way more and eating foods that we don't even want to eat, so that we feel bad physically, and then we feel guilty, and we kind of prove ourselves that we're a bad person and that we're not able to do that and that we're failing again. Isn't that a horrible cycle to be stuck in? So for a lot of people, you know, it's like their health and thinking about food and controlling the different things that they eat or don't eat and the way they move their body. It's just over consuming. It's like the whole focus of their life. It's their life, basically. And then if we fall off the wagon, I don't really like that expression, but you know what I mean, then it's completely the opposite and we go completely crazy with everything. But even though those two extremes may feel like the complete opposite, they're very, very similar. They're so, so similar. In both of these extremes of food rules and food rebellion, there's both a disconnection from the body that happens. Because think about it, if you have to follow all of these rules and not really eat according to your hungers or what your body seems to be wanting and needing, you have to follow all of these rules and what this person and that expert and what your calorie tracker is telling you that you can or cannot eat. You have to disconnect from your body to do that. If you are doing the food rebellion, you also have to disconnect from your body, because you're eating food that you, even though you might crave them at first, for most people, when they start eating it, they get to a point where it's really, really uncomfortable, but they do keep eating. They don't feel good in their body. They have to disconnect from their body because there's just something that takes over, and there's a disconnection from the body. Another way that those two extremes, food rules and food rebellion, are very similar is that there's both a tremendous amount of fear involved. So with the food rules, there's the fear that if we don't do this, all of these things, then we'll never heal. We'll never get that body that we need. We'll never get to that place that we think we need to then get to that place where we feel happy and live the life that we want to live. So it's almost as we create that, we feel like we need, we want to go from point A of where we are to point B where we're happy and live the life that we want, but we feel like we need to get to point L, let's say, in between, where we get that perfect body, perfect health, and all of that. And there's a tremendous amount of fear involved in that, because if we don't do that, if we don't monitor every bite that we take in, if we are not careful, if we don't watch our body, if we don't watch our weight and keep measuring and weighing ourselves and measuring, portioning out our food, then we're never going to get there. So that's really, really scary. And with the food rebellion piece, there's also a lot of fear, because we feel completely out of control. We feel completely powerless. We feel afraid that we're going to be stuck in that cycle forever, and we're really afraid of ourselves because we feel like we're a failure. Another way that these two things are very similar is that both are trying to, we talked about the disconnect from our body, but there's also a big disconnect from our emotions. And both tactics, whether it's by trying to control everything about our health and our food, or whether it is by overeating, emotionally eating, and those kind of behaviors, are both tactics to distract ourselves and numb ourselves from feelings. So really, they're both avoidance tactics. And I get it. I mean, I've been afraid of my emotions for a very, very long time, and it is really, really scary to learn how to do that again. But distracting ourselves and numbing ourselves is certainly not the answer. And for many people, it may sound more obvious that when we overeat or eat our emotions, that's what we're doing, numbing and distracting ourselves from our emotions. But we may not see that in people that are using food rules and counting the calories and all of that, all doing those healthy things. But it's really what is happening too, because at that point, it really is. I know that those behaviors are glorified and perceived as being healthy or then encouraged by society, but they're not always healthy behaviors. For it really depends on the underlying reason why they're doing that. But for many people I work with that are doing those things, if they have disconnected from their body and doing those behaviors, then you can know for sure that it's a way to distract and numb themselves from their emotions. And we don't want to do that, because true healing cannot happen if we are disconnected from our body and our heart, which is our emotions. Another way that those two extremes, let me see, well, yeah, I guess really for both of these things, the focus is external. So with the people using food rules as distraction tactics, are putting the focus on something external. They're putting the focus of their life and how they live their life on those certain rules and behaviors and exercise and this and that, all outside of them. They're kind of giving their power away to all of these things that they need to feel safe. For people with a food rebellion problem, and of course, one is not exclusive to the other. Most people will bounce back and forth between the two. But when we're stuck in the food rebellion part of it, the focus is also external. Because there's a sense of powerlessness, like we're not in control of our body, and we give our power away to food too. We feel like food, we feel almost like a victim, like, it's all of these cravings and those neurotransmitters and chemicals in our brain that are causing us to eat those foods, or that imbalance in our gut. Yes, I agree those things can contribute, but there's another layer there that we need to go deeper than the physical level. And of course, I'm not blaming anyone that is stuck in either of these extremes. Oh my God, I have so much compassion and understanding for both of these things, the people in the food rule category and in the food rebellion category. It really sucks to be in either of these places, because there's something missing and you feel it, you know it. If you're in the food rebellion or food rule, you know that there's something missing, but you just cannot get your finger on it. You know that there is something missing. You feel stuck on your healing journey, but you're just not able to move forward and move past that. And you just repeat that cycle over and over again, whether you move between those two extremities, whether you're stuck in either one of these extremes for a long time. And it is really an exhausting process, energy draining, life sucking process. Seriously, I feel for you, because I know what it is. I know way too well what it is like. I've dealt with an eating disorder and many different health issues, and I've been a registered dietitian for over 12 years now, and I've studied nutrition for even more years prior to that. So I've been in that field for long enough, and I've been, yeah, I've learned so much from just looking at my own behaviors and issues with my health and food, and working with just so many different people, women and men, because this is something that is quite universal nowadays. So how do we move away from that? Well, it's neither of these extremes. If we look at that line of polarity, is the answer, as you know, because we just keep bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball, which is not the best feeling at all. So how can we get unstuck? Well, we need to open the box. We need to open our horizons. We need to look beyond that. And by building a triangle this way, This is something that I learned from my mentor, Christina Rilo, the author of at least 3 different books on self-love, and so you may want to check that out. But this is called the sacred third. So usually we think we're stuck with 2 options. That's that polarity, white or black, male, female, day or night. You know, so yes or no. Did I say that? Anyway, so the sacred third is elevating ourselves so we have a better perspective of all the other options there is, so we can make a choice that is above that polarity where we just feel stuck and bounce from one place to the other, and where we feel isolated and stuck. So how can we elevate ourselves? We need to elevate ourselves to find that food freedom, which is what so many of you, or how could I get my finger at the right place? Food freedom is what so many of you are looking for, because the food rules don't feel good. The food rebellion doesn't feel good either. We need to go find somewhere else, and that's the food freedom. And that may seem like a simple answer, like, of course, that's what I want, food freedom, but how do I get there? So I wrote 3 things that can help us get there. Let's see. Okay. Doesn't necessarily make it easy, but reconnecting with our body is really key. Reconnecting with our body, that also means reconnecting with our physical sensations, hunger, satiety signals, or different symptoms, and most importantly, reconnecting with our emotions and starting to understand the messages that are behind those different emotions. It also means reconnecting with our intuition and our inner wisdom, because our emotions and our physical signals are just kind of our compass, really. They're our compass, and they're the best tool that we do have to help us go in the right direction for our healing to happen at the pace it's supposed to happen. So that's what I mean by reconnecting with our body. And there are many, many different tools and strategies that we can use to do that. That's a little bit beyond the scope. I'm already talking way more than I thought I would. But this is definitely something that I would invite you to look into. And if you want to have more help in that area, please let me know, and I'd be happy to talk more about those topics, because I love talking about that. And yeah, the rest kind of goes together. Then having an internal focus and guidance. So as I said, that was like the internal compass, by learning how to use your intuition and your emotions and your physical cues to lead you and guide you on your healing journey. And then self-awareness, that's kind of integrated in all of that, because without awareness, we won't be able to hear those different signals that our body and our intuition and inner wisdom and emotions and heart are sending us our way. Because really, those messages are all around you. Well, actually not around you, they're all inside of you, and they're just trying to get to you. But when we're too busy swinging from one side of the spectrum to the other, stuck between those food rules and that food rebellion, we cannot hear, see, listen. We just feel stuck. We just stay stuck there. So I know, as impossible as it may seem right now for you to elevate yourself to that place of food freedom, know that it is possible. I never thought I could get there, and I did. So I know it's hard to believe, but you can get there too. And it truly is my passion right now to help other women and men also do that. I think that with my own experience, having been through it and being able to bring a really unique perspective of blending the science and the emotional and mental health, and then the intuition part of it, is really the best way to do it, because there's not one answer that will help us get to the top of that pyramid where we can access food freedom. We really need to use all of these different tools, and that's how I love to work. So if you want to find out find out more about what this could mean for you and whether this approach might be effective for you, I'd love to talk to you. I have a few nutrition appetizer sessions. Those are free 30-minute sessions that I offer each week. So you can contact me and see if you can get a spot. I'd be really, really happy to talk to you more about that and about how it's been showing up in your life, that, food rules, food rebellion. And that's it. And yeah, really, that's what I wanted to share. And also, well, if you're ready to jump into that and getting, reconnecting with your body, learning how to reconnect with your own internal guidance system and increasing your self-awareness so you can get to that food freedom, the top of the pyramid, and get unstuck from that bouncing between the food rules and food rebellion, you might want to check out my Nourish Your Roots program. It is starting next week. You can get more details at radicatanutrition.com/roots. And I have a coupon code that you'll see it. It's actually, look for it, look for the word coupon code and you'll find it on the page. I can't remember exactly what it is, but you'll find it there to save a few dollars and get started with an amazing group of women starting next week. So it's going to be a 9-week journey of us together. It's live, and there are weekly circles. There's a lot of individual attention from me, even though it's a group program. And there's also a bonus where you can get a taste of, I use my intuition, with everything that I do, but you can get an intuitive reading of your energy and chakra also as a bonus, and as well as a free 30-minute session with me to go through it and uncover some blocks that may be in the way of your healing together. So yeah, you can find all about that at radicatanutrition.com/roots. And don't be shy to just PM me or comment below if you have any questions. That would be my absolute pleasure to help you get one step closer to your own food freedom. All right, so have a good rest of your day. Take care and talk to you very soon. Oh, how are you? Okay, no.